Hello, American Lit 2. I wanted to record a video to kind of go over the last chapters of our class together. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, and this is what our Canvas page should look like to you. While I'm at the top, I want to remind you that under course details and resources, you have some American literature resources, some really great websites, and then some writing resources. So instead of just kind of like going out into the ether of Google, MLA format, there's some really great stuff here. You can look at these resources, integrating quotations, citation generator, MLA formatting. It's all right here. So please take advantage of these resources that are at the top of the page. And now we'll go down a bit farther. What we're in the midst of right now is week 13 through 14. So, as you know, because I posted this last week, this is a 2 week span of materials. So, the reading assignment that you're in the midst of is meant to span 2 weeks. So hopefully you went over it and looked at, okay, and I gave you some more info than I normally do in terms of what is a short story and what is a poem. So you can try to pace yourself and certainly not wait until the last minute, kind of not rush everything all at once, but pace yourself over the course of these couple of weeks. And then you have some videos and articles like always. And then what's due this Wednesday by midnight is one of our check-ins. And then next Wednesday, the 7th, are your analytical reflections for this time period. So again, these things should feel familiar, but I just gave you a little bit more time. I also went ahead and posted week 15. You'll notice that for week 15, you don't have any new reading assignments. It's basically just anything left over, please read that. I've included a couple of new linked articles and videos, but this is mostly time to be working on your final assignments. Okay, and this is the grand finale, your finals. This here will be this video in a few minutes. The final essay assignment, I want you to think of your final essay as a final exam. So I think sometimes in English or literature classes, when a final essay is the final exam, sometimes problematically, students think, oh, it's just an essay. I really need to focus on studying for my chemistry exam, for this class that I have an exam that I have to do a lot of memorization for. And of course, all of your classes are really important, but please don't put off your final essay or see it as just another piece of writing. This is where you need to show off and show what you've learned this semester and kind of go into depth. So we'll go ahead and look at this assignment. Again, this is worth 150 points. It's worth more than anything that you've done thus far. You have 3 prompts to choose from. Now, if you choose the classic literary analysis. So this is the second prompt. So say you look at 2 poems and compare the symbolism within them, how that supports a theme. You're doing pretty like, again, classic literary analysis. This doesn't mean that you cannot talk about any sort of social context or historical context. That doesn't mean that at all. So please don't see these as limiting, like tunnel vision, but this just kind of sets you on a path to approach your final essay. Each of the prompts requires at least 3 sources. When I say primary sources, that's the literature itself. That is the speech, the poem, the short story, the graphic novel excerpt. Secondary sources, or here, reputable other sources, I say, might be a magazine article, a video, so something that kind of will support how you're looking at or using that primary source. So again, your basic paths are a socio-political argument based on literature and research. So maybe you read a poem early in the semester that reminded you of something else that was going on today in American society. That can kind of be your jumping off point. The second one, again, is your more classic literary analysis. If you've taken Comp 2, this might feel familiar, a comparative analysis looking at pieces of literature together and kind of finding that meaning and similarity. And then the third is a critical literary analysis based on critical literary theory. So this is kind of the optional. I posted these resources. Um, I do this in some of my other classes to introduce the idea of looking through a certain lens at a text. So if you're interested in that, there's a resource right underneath this assignment. But again, if you choose one of these paths, that doesn't mean that you're like not allowed to talk about anything else. Please don't see it that way. This just, again, gives you some options that aren't here, write about something from the semester, which is total chaos. So the best way to approach this final essay is to go back through your text list and go back through the modules and remember things that maybe struck your interest or that you'd be curious about learning more about, and really take it in that direction. I can't stress enough, please use me, please email me, set up a Zoom meeting, set up an office meeting. I love brainstorming with folks. So if you know that you really loved this one poem or you kind of want to do something with it, but you don't know what, shoot me an email. We'll talk back and forth. And those are usually really fruitful conversations. So please take advantage of that. Um, yeah. Other reminders, if you've I brought up the Comp 2 assignment, the Comp 2 essays earlier. Please don't fully recycle papers you've written for other classes. If you did work an essay, a research essay, an analysis in another class that you feel like could be a basis or could kind of serve you well with this, please reach out to me and let me know. There are lots of ways to use prior research, prior engagement with texts that aren't just kind of tweaking a little bit and turning it in as is. So reach out and let me know if you'd like to further examine something you've done in another class. Um, the prompt goes on with some basic parameters and then a checklist, two checklists in the back. So this remember, I put this together. These are things that I correct most often on student essays. So go over this, kind of check yourself. And this is specific to literary analysis, but it's also just good kind of writing reminders. Another reminder, any use of generative AI in my courses is considered plagiarism. So that means, quote, brainstorming and providing outlines. Please just don't do that for this class. I know we've talked about that before. I've kind of shared via message and video in the past, but I cannot stress enough that in this course, that is not considered your work. Um, and if you have any questions about that, please don't hesitate to reach out. So this final essay is something that you can start working on now. You have the option to upload a first draft in whatever form it might be. Maybe it's just the whole shebang. Maybe you just have an intro paragraph. I will look at it and provide feedback, and that will certainly be helpful for a final draft. But you will upload your final essay in its final form by May 14th at midnight. The found poem. So again, the final essay is your final exam, and then you have two other final assignments. The found poem. This is the notion of a found poem. In layman's terms, it's sometimes called a plagiarized poem, but you're getting permission and being given parameters for this. I want you to go over our text list, and from what we have read from our primary sources, poems, stories, speeches, I want you to take lines and phrases and create your own poem or poems from those texts. And the way this works is you need at least 20 lines. So that might be one long poem or a few short poems, whatever works for you. Don't need to rhyme, don't need to be in any strict poetic format. It should make sense. And you might need to tweak pronouns or verb tenses, add a word here or there. That's totally fine. But at the end of your poem or poems, you'll list the texts that you used. So again, not MLA formatted, no in-text citations. You'll just provide a list of the works that you used to create your new poem or poems. And then finally, a film reflection. So I've provided you with links to 5 films. All of them are they're all American films and they're all based on a piece of literature. So I've laid it out here, what book or play the film is based on, and I've also included the screenplay writer, because the screenwriter, that's important information. And you can kind of look these over. You can click around. You can watch more than one. If you're worried about like ratings or kind of content warnings, Common Sense Media is a really nice resource. Because yeah, your mileage may vary, kind of what you consider being comfortable watching or not. Jackie Brown is a Quentin Tarantino film. That's going to be a little more explicit than 1940's The Grapes of Wrath. Um, But I want you to approach one of these films like a text and do some reflective analysis. This isn't overly formal, um, and I've given you a few handouts to think about analyzing film. And I hope that you find that assignment enjoyable. So, obviously, what you have in front of you here is not 10 minutes of work. But if you pace yourself and if you choose things that interest you and you're curious about and you reach out and ask for help, this is more than doable in at this point, when I'm posting this today, it's Monday, April 28th. You have 2.5 weeks left. So please pace yourself. Don't rush, but don't wait until the last minute and reach out if you need anything at all. Done good work this semester. Again, I'm on the Union campus. I'm here a lot. If you ever want to stop by and set up a meeting time, I can also meet with you via Zoom or on phone. And certainly emailing back and forth works well too. So reach out if you need anything. And I really look forward to reading your writing at the end of the semester. Have a great week and good luck with finals and this final chapter of the semester.